So, I was under the impression that there would be no Eden Zero this week, because I was under the impression that there was not supposed to be a chapter last week, that 123 was supposed to come out this week, and we were not supposed to have a chapter next week. So I thought we would not have 124 for another 2 more weeks. And therefore, when someone on my Tumblr was reblogging Eden Zero posts, I read them with no fear, assuming there would be nothing to be spoiled. However, I was incorrect. Therefore, I'm going into this chapter with a very, very major spoiler. No, I did not read any dialogue of this major spoiler, but the image was very spoilery. So all that being said, hello internet, and welcome to my live reaction for Eden Zero chapter 124. When we last left our heroes, Shiki and Justice started their clash, with Shiki completely outmatched by Justice. Standing absolutely no chance. He would have died if not for the timely arrival of Elsie. Also, meanwhile, Mueller recognizes our Wise as the past version of the Alpha Wise, and so now he's torturing Wise instead of Hermit. But really, the big cliffhanger was Elsie versus Justice kicking off at the end of last chapter. So all that being said, let's jump right on into chapter 124, Kiss and Die. Which will be very important later, I know that much. Our picture here is of Rebecca in quite the booty shot. We really just have her whole ass there. If that's your thing, there you go. Anyway, we open where we left off, with Elsie and Justice staring each other down. An interesting thing to note here that I just saw on this top panel, to tie in with what we learned last chapter about the two of them having identical ether gears, they also have identical spears in this panel. So that's something. The two of them just stare at each other, enraged. Justice at whatever the fuck happened to them in the past, Elsie at Shiki and what happened to Shiki and Homura. And we see Shiki on the ground, bloodied up, battered, completely out of it. And Justice finally speaks. To think you would have the gall to show your face to me, Elsie Crimson. And Elsie immediately, I forget if her version of requip has a name, but she requips into a new suit of armor. I'm through playing games with you. Be gone this instant. The two of them then change their spears into a different weapon. It's both the same kind of like scaled looking hilt with a little bit of like a flame sword, maybe? Be gone this instant. And Justice continues, for violation of cosmic travel laws and multiple other crimes. I sentence you to death. Wait a minute. Wait a goddamn minute. The most important thing Justice mentions of her crimes is violation of cosmic travel laws. That's what Elsie did? Hold on. I need the context. I need the context for whatever the fuck happened between them. But the two of them, swing their swords. We get this huge explosion. Well, first we get a shockwave. And then we get the explosion that can be seen for miles. And Shiki is like flown into the air. Victory, from some distance away, looks up at the pillar of fire from Justice and Elsie's clash. And Victory looks up, what in the cosmos is that? And Creed looks at it. I'm reading an ether identical to Justice's. It can't be. And then one of Elsie's men steps forward. That's our princess. The two of them look back at them. That box you got is holding a friend of hers. We'll be taking her back. And it's the Fire and Ice guys from the beginning of this arc, whose names I cannot remember. Let me see if I can find their names in like 5 seconds. If not, I'll just try to remember. Here it's Goen and Hyoga. Alright, so Goen is the fire one, Hyoga is the ice. I think. I'm pretty sure I'm right. Um, yeah. So yeah, Goen says, that box you got is holding a friend of hers. And Hyoga responds, we'll be taking her back. And Victory looks at them. Elsie's number 2 and number 3, eh? And Creed is just silent as he looks at them. And then Creed looks down at the cage with Homura. And Homura calls out, hey, what is going on here? Release me this instant. And Creed blushes. Now that I look at her, she's kind of pretty. That's okay. You shouldn't really be thinking that about your captive. And Goen snaps, hold up. When you say that, who are you calling 2 and who is 3? And Hyoga looks at him, doesn't really matter. And Goen snaps, yes! And Victory just sighs, these guys are gonna be a pain. But then he grins, looks like we got a big haul today, Creed. Yes, sir. And Creed activates his ether lock. But Hyoga blocks it with Ice Wall. A huge, wall of ice, obviously. Separates Goen and Hyoga from Victory and Creed. And Hyoga looks at them. My frozen barricade blocks psychokinetic ether. And then Goen readying a flame fist. And my fist burns everything to cinders. Flame bolt and is blocked by Victory's Titan's arm. As the two of them clash. And Goen lets out a rah! And Victory counters it with victory will be mine. And Hyoga back with Creed. Victory will be ours. On our honor as the Princess Guard. And Creed snaps back. No, those with no creed can never defeat us. I noticed that all of Team Justice keeps saying their names a lot. And I'm curious if it's just kind of Mashima being cute, or if it's kind of like the Whiteclad and Fire Force, how their names come from their abilities. Maybe they're also code names here that come from their beliefs. I don't know. And Hyoga counters Creed's statement. Our creed is belief in Her Highness. That is what drives us forward. But Creed remarks, you don't even know who she really is, you poor, pitiful lambs. Speaking of, we now go back to Elsie and Justice's fight, as they're just whacking away at each other with swords. As we see this whole, Justice's slash has carved a gash in the ground behind Elsie. Justice is similarly being pushed back. We see, the ground is craters behind Justice. And Shiki looks up. Whoa. And Elsie goes to charge. You've got it better, Justice. Or should I say, James Holloway. So I was right. They do have code names. I forgot the word there for a second. They do have code names. As he was originally James Holloway, which is a lame name, I have to say. Justice is a much better name. And Justice responds, I abandoned that name long ago, you traitor to the fatherland. Okay, there's some more hints as to, So there's a home country involved here, apparently. And Justice asks, fatherland? But Elsie counters, a nation like that one had no meaning. And Justice, charging up, says, that meaningless nation is where I lost everything because of your treachery. Okay. Alright. For a second there I was thinking, is Elsie's backstory that she's actually a princess? But then I thought that wouldn't really track with her being an orphan picked up by Ziggy. So I don't know. I don't know what's going on here. But Elsie is shocked at Justice's sudden powers. And he dashes at Elsie. She can barely block, it looks like. And Shiki calls out, Elsie! Or no, actually I don't think she blocks, because Justice just slams her into a building. They've gone back to town. And then Justice goes to try to kick at Elsie that she barely dodges. And then Elsie powers up the exact same way and lunges it at Justice. I lost everything too. My parents, my siblings, my friends, my eye. Wait, so is this before, um, before, she met the Eden Zero? Because I thought she didn't know who she was when she met the Eden Zero. Unless I'm mistaken. Um, like, I thought she was just I don't know. I don't know. I don't remember enough of what we know of her backstory already. Um, and then Justice continues, if you hadn't betrayed us, neither of us would have lost anything. And then Elsie counters, no, someone had to do something, or we would have lost even more. We would have lost the entire Kaide cosmos. So they're from another cosmos. Okay. Twisted logic. But Elsie snaps back, if there was any real justice in you, you would have seen it. You would have seen how powerful the government was, and what they were plotting. Okay. I do like, though, right here, Mashima gives us this whole argument, and I love that he gives us absolutely zero context. It's real, in a way that them, just describing their frustration in minute detail wouldn't be. These two know where this feud starts, and they don't need to go through every line. They're just arguing, and we don't know the context. We can try to work out some details just from what they're saying, but we don't get anything besides that. Anyway, you'd have seen how powerful the government was and what they were plotting. And then the two of them go for another slash, another clash in the air with like rubble all around them. And as they're kind of like flying around at this point, Justice yells, I was going to change it. With my faith in justice, I would have made it a better nation. And Elsie says, we were too young to have that kind of power, and there wasn't enough time. That's why I told everyone the truth about the government, and that's what started the war. It was the only way to right what was wrong. But of course you wouldn't understand, not with your obsession with false justice. Now they're dropped their swords at this point, they're just grappling now. So it seems like she revealed something and started a civil war, maybe? I'm not sure. And now the mighty princess is a lowly pirate. There truly is justice in the cosmos. So I guess she was a princess. But Your Highness is not just a term of endearment. We see them like grappling, faces inches away from each other. And Elsie asks, do you remember the last time our faces were this close to each other? And Justice just growls at her as we move into flashback land. At just the right time for flashback land. I was happy to have the kind of no context argument, but eventually we do need to find out what the hell is going on. And we see a young Elsie and James, I guess we should call him at this point, sitting by a fountain, Elsie still with both her eyes. Also, I never really pointed this out before, because I'd never really thought of it until right now. But Elsie's one-eyedness is an Urza callback, because it doesn't really come up. But Urza only has one real eye. One of her eyes is fake. I don't know, that just popped in my head for some reason. Anyway, baby Elsie says, I know, James, let's kiss! And James all of a sudden gets all, like, blushy and embarrassed. How could you suggest that, Princess Elsie? And Elsie looks at him. Well, we'll be married when we grow up, right? So we can kiss if we want. I feel like their whole relationship is just here to, like, tease Jerza shippers. At least partially it's there to tease Jerza shippers. I mean, it's a story in its own right, but also, as a long-time Jerza shipper, I'm feeling a little bit teased here. Yes, but our parents decided we're getting married. It's really just so your kingdom can absorb mine. But Elsie already, puts up her lips for a kiss, and James kind of backs away. Oh no. The two of them get closer. We see James, visibly shaking. And then Elsie just, grabs his cheeks. On second thought, let's save that until we're older. And James just kind of blushes. Oh, James, your face is so red. That was me and Princess Elsie. But someday, right? Prince James? And now we are back in the present, as they're still grappling on the ground by now. What do you say? Do you want to finish what we started? Elsie, this is not the time! And Justice just growls at her. That isn't funny. Who knows? Maybe it will engender forgiveness in our hearts. And Justice glares at her for a moment before grabbing her cheek. And Elsie is shocked by that. Hey, are you serious? And Justice says, it will engender nothing. You're a brave man. And then they kiss. Which I did kind of get that spoiled. This is not the panel that I saw. But I did get spoiled that they would kiss before Durza kissed. And here's the panel that I saw. They both decided, at the same moment, to stab each other in the gut. That is our kiss and die. Which, given the title Kiss and Die, is Mashima actually going to kill off Justice and Elsie here? I know he never killed off Jalal because he felt kind of bad about something that happened to Seekheart and Ravemaster. How Seekheart died. I didn't get far enough in Ravemaster. Only watched the anime in Ravemaster, so I don't know how Seekheart died. But so, like, Jalal, he just, like, refused to kill Jalal. And a part of me assumed the same would apply to Justice. But if this is the kiss and die of the title, then maybe, possibly, actually, where, we get a better look at where Elsie's been stabbed than Justice. But that doesn't necessarily look fatal. It looks kind of off to the side of any major organs. Justice I can't tell as clearly because it's further back from the viewer, but it might be the same there. But also we don't know enough about Elsie to kill her off right now. I think, especially with all of the teasing of this chapter. But either way, after the stabbing, both of their eyes widen, in shock that the other one chose to kill them, and they step back. And Elsie smiles. Wonderful. A first kiss to remember, James. I mean, that's one way to put it, Elsie. And Justice spits out blood. I knew it would engender nothing. I will kill you. And Elsie grins. Yes, it seems that this is our fate. So yeah, looks like they're not going to die from that, and the fight will still continue, which does make sense. And then we check back in on Shiki, who is back there in the absolutely destroyed part of the forest where Elsie and Justice left, as he's just kind of trembling. I couldn't do anything. How can they be so powerful? And just then, a cloaked person with, like, robotic legs steps forward. Unleash your gravity. It is a robot. Gravity is the weight of the heart. Your heart hasn't yet reached the abyss. And that's the end of the chapter. Okay. I'm trying to think if this bot reminds me of anybody. And I kind of got nothing. My first thought was maybe Michael. But I don't think so. Let me re-Google Michael's. No, not Michael at all. Maybe his face is too detailed to be Michael. Michael's always just like kind of an oval with a face on it. It doesn't have the little jawline that our cloaked friend has. I don't know. So let's put our mystery bot aside. Also, maybe it's just the heavy ace focus of the last One Piece chapter, but for some reason, Shiki's freaking out, I couldn't do anything, reminded me very much of Luffy's reaction in the aftermath of Marineford, his, I'm so weak, scene. Without all the build-up that scene had, of course. It's not trying to be that scene, but that's kind of popped into my head earlier. Anyway, let's talk about Elsie. Well, before that, let's do a little bit with Victory, Creed, Hyoga, and I looked up his name earlier. Goen. As we see Goen and Victory start a fight, and Hyoga and Creed, I honestly don't know how much focus this will get, given that I can't see this fight continuing after Elsie versus Justice finishes. It just kind of seems like we're fighting because our bosses are fighting, and so we may as well fight. But once that, or not quite may as well, it's a little bit too glib for what I'm getting at, but like it's not like there's some deep character reason for these four to go at it. It's just like their bosses are fighting and we're on their side. But still, hopefully we see a little bit of them. The real crux is, of course, Elsie versus Justice, which does two things. The first, more minor thing, is just re-emphasize how out of his league Shiki is. You know, we saw that last time with how easily Justice mopped the floor with him, but seeing Elsie go toe-to-toe with Justice is just a good reminder of how out of his league Shiki is going forward. But then, of course, we have the fight. Elsie versus Justice. And I hope the anime gets this far. This will be so much fun to watch animated. Like, it's just a blast. Like I said, I love how little context we get for their arguments. You know, we get what they need to know. We get what it makes sense that they would say. I mean, and we get it, which mostly consists of hints for us. You know, she was a princess at some point before she met the Eden Zero. She betrayed them somehow. The government was doing something that we don't really know what. Oh, here on the wiki, it mentions as a child, Elsie was the earliest we have of her was a refugee who was made homeless by war. I was curious earlier. I didn't remember enough of her backstory, so I thought it was weird that she was a princess too. But it's more like she just didn't tell Ziggy's crew, I guess. And she was just wandering the cosmos until she was picked up, which means that she was a refugee of a war of her own creation, which is interesting. And whatever the government was plotting, something big enough to destroy a cosmos, it makes sense that she would do something to get rid of it, to stop it, even if it would, destroy her country, apparently. But I don't know. It really is just a teaser for more backstory, and I really want to know more. And I want to know it fast. I want to get it as soon as possible. I desperately need more information. And then we get the kiss and die, or at least the kiss. There isn't really a lot of dying here, given that they both live, and they specifically say "I will kill you" is Justice's line, implying that he has not killed her yet. That blade will not kill her, or the wound will not kill her. But yeah, it's just a great chapter. It's really fucking good. I don't have a lot to say beyond... I mean, I've had a lot to say. I've had 23 and a half minutes worth of things to say about this chapter. But it's just really fucking good. This is honestly a good contender for best Eden Zero chapter. Yeah, it's just good. It is good without the caveat of Mashima's newfound BDSM obsession is nowhere to be seen here. As a reminder that you can still do, dark storylines without BDSM being into play. I don't know. But yeah, we finally get our Elsie versus Justice starting, and we have our mystery robot, who seems to know a lot about gravity. For a second, I was scared to be Shora already, and I thought that was a little bit sudden. But it's good that it's not Shora. I don't know who this guy is. I don't know how he knows about gravity magic. But yeah, we'll have to wait until maybe 3 weeks from now to find out what comes next. Though maybe it'll also drop next week. At this point, who's to fucking say? So yeah, that's all I have to say for this video. Hope you all enjoyed the chapter and the video itself. If you did, feel free to drop me a like or subscribe, or, do whatever makes you happy, And remember, your life is your own, okay? Bye!